Everybody ready? All right, camera speeding, and action. Chelsea Brenes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
You are also known as Oxcourt Chelsea. Oxcourt Shorty. Was formerly. Um, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Oxcourt Shorty a little bit.
Okay. I had a feeling that would come up.
Yeah. Because it's like an era that a lot of people wouldn't know unless they were there. It's kind of, you had to be there. Yeah. So what is Oxcourt Shorty? What is that? What was that?
I think it was meant to get bigger than it did. I think it was like a short-lived moment.
Okay.
But I think it was just kind of it started off as a blog where I kind of wanted to write about artists and showcase like local talent. And just kind of like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain because I don't even know how it started. I do know how it started actually, at your studio.
Yeah.
Do you remember? So you
were floating the name, and I was like, yeah, that's absolutely the name. You should.
Yeah. We had talked about it, and then you were like, come over, I'll help you like figure out your blog, and we started a WordPress, and I just started writing articles and writing about Vegas and writing about just different things. I think it was just
an outlet. Did I help you with WordPress? I forgot that.
Yeah, you did.
Wow, the boy was WordPress boy back in the day.
Yeah, I had my WordPress. I think I still get charged for it. I'm not sure.
No way.
I might still have the username.
I think decades later.
Wow, the oxcourtshotty.com. But the website doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can like go back a little bit because I went to university or UNLV for journalism. So I think like I always wanted to write, and I always wanted to, I don't know, like I always had this like passion for like multimedia content. Started back in like middle school and then in high school. And then when I went to college, I was like, okay, this is cool. But I wasn't really into the traditional like newspaper, like newsy stuff. Like I really wanted to like go into like more like cultural stuff, you know, like what the people my age are talking about. And I felt like there was a big opportunity to showcase the local art in Las Vegas. Like there's so much going on, but how do you hear about it? How do you know about it? So I think that's kind of where that stemmed, is like I was kind of let into that world, and I saw a space for me to like want to promote it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you think of Las Vegas, there's like all the glitz, the glamour, the strip, but behind all that, there's like actual talent, actual local people that are doing stuff. And at the time, I wasn't aware of like too many people that were showcasing that. So I think that was kind of where it stemmed, where I felt like there was a place for me to write or to talk about what was going on behind and like beyond all of the Las Vegas stuff.
Yeah, and it is necessary, and it's not done, weirdly, very rarely, which is I think the reason why there's such a huge blog boom in hip hop, you know, like whenever that was in like the teens, you know, the 20 teens.
Yeah.
Everybody was getting their music from blogs. I was already like too old. Like I was already like beyond like doing that at that point, which is crazy to think about. But like people were getting their music from blogs because, I mean, where else were they gonna get it from? They didn't want to, you know, young people didn't want to get their new music from the radio anymore, and there was, you know, there was no like MTV or VH1 option for new music for like grassroots level music. So how else were they gonna do it?
Exactly. And I think that I was like still discovering this side of Vegas and like all of the music. So as I'm discovering new artists, I'm talking about them. I'm saying like, oh, I just found this artist, or I just like met this person, and you should listen to them.
Every time I saw you, you would be like, yo, I just heard this from this person. I'm like, who? I don't know them.
Yeah.
But then, like, I mean, that's how I met. I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, but that's definitely the first time I heard of McNeely was through you, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And from there, that's the, I still think our idea was genius. I still think trending in Vegas was genius. Yeah. Chelsea and I did a very small micro like web or Instagram really show, which was like a MTV updates for new music, where she literally did all the work. She would find the music, we would sort of collaboratively write it in like what specifically was going to be said.
Yeah.
And then I would film it and edit it, and like we would put it on Instagram.
30 minutes before we would film, I already had like a list of what I wanted to talk about. It was one artist, one trending topic, and one like videographer or photographer that was like doing something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it was like the breaking news floor for like underground hip hop like culture and stuff.
We tried. We definitely tried. Their videos are still on my Instagram.
Yeah, some people loved it, and some people didn't love it, and that's hey, listen, if everybody likes you,
but this is
you're not
still
doing it right.
Yeah, there's like this is still pre videos being cool on Instagram. So I think think about how like Reels didn't exist at that time. So like how much we've evolved.
We're talking like 2017, right? Or 18. Like,
how much it's crazy how much like social media has evolved, and like how maybe ahead of the curve we were as well at the time. Like if we were doing that now, how we would have done it differently, or like how much better it would have been, or the impact would have been bigger probably.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of people got upset, but I think they just jumped the gun. Like people got upset because they weren't being talked about, and it's like, hey, you're not being talked about yet. We didn't get. We've done like, how many did we do with them? Like 9 of them, or like 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah, that was a good amount. Yeah.
Like it's like, just be patient. Like there's no need to get so upset, and it's like, oh, we're not. I think the talk track was like, we're not looking at the real. Some people were like, this is not the real hip hop you're looking at. And it's like, okay, well, just wait a second and calm down. But whatever, it's neither here nor there. We were ahead of our time. We were, because it was, because it was a really valuable thing, that micro, I used to have that term for it. It was like micro news or whatever the fuck. But I mean, the same thing happened to AD. AD was shining a light on artists, and then people who weren't necessarily maybe thought of or whatever ended up hating on AD.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so anyhow. I really wanted to cover all that and get all that out, because I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of people don't know the other side of like what we were trying to do. Like I think people were thought we were just trying to I don't know, selfishly do something, but we were trying to provide like a service, a cool service for people. Yeah,
it was more of a platform. I think. I think I saw this happening in Miami, where there was like people, and there's like multiple people, not just like certain people, but there's multiple people that are. And this was my ultimate goal, was to throw parties, like showcasing the artists. Or
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then it just never got to that point, because I feel like I really needed like people to come together, and I feel like a lot of the time people were like you said, just hating, like pulling this way, pulling that way, like, oh, you haven't, or they just had this like idea of me but didn't know me personally, or what I was trying to achieve. But really, I was just trying to create a platform to be able to propel people. Like the goal was to get like national attention and build my name up so that I can write for XXL Mag, or like, that was my goal, was to make it a big thing, and like go to create events and bring, different like videographers and like fashion, and bring all those people together for a big event, which was done. It was done, but not in the manner in which I wanted to do it. And like I said, I was seeing it in Miami, and it was doing really, really well. And that was like my inspiration there, was to kind of have the same concept, to create that platform and grow it and potentially make it national. That's what the artists here need, is like, I mean, what is it if you just have the same group of people following you? You know what I mean? You're doing the same thing and there's no growth.
Yeah, it's very, very common that happens. I've experienced it several times in several, in different areas of the country now, and that was what motivated me at the time too. Was I wanted to be the center of a movement that had the power to elevate artists, because I had artists that I wanted to see elevated.
Of course.
I was really, really motivated by that, and I worked really hard to try and make something happen with that, to different varying levels of success. We did that in Long Island, we did that here. And it was a big deal, and it's, I think the thing that, not to just like be like, oh, it's everybody else and it's not, and it has nothing to do with me. I think that to take my part of responsibility in it, I think just like we all do when we approach like hip hop culture, is like, I think we think it's maybe a little easier than it is.
Yeah.
Like you there has to be some kind of magic, some kind of like, special moment. Like a lot of this stuff is like, it's not tangible. Like it just happens, and movements happen, and people just so happen to be inside of them. It's like it's really never one person or even one group of people, unless it's like a really big group of people and they have a lot of resources and all that kind of thing. And so you can make cool moments happen, which I think you and I did.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's great, because we have those memories and we can always look back on those and say, hey, like we made these things happen. And it's super fun to be able to do that. But like the bigger, higher stuff, it's like, okay, like this is, a little beyond where I guess, now being here in the future, it's like, I guess it's a little beyond where I was willing to take it,
Yeah.
And that, I think that's the case for both of us.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, what is your zodiac sign?
I'm an Aries.
Are you an Aries?
Fire sign.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. You are an Aries.
Yeah.
Why
does that matter? Well, why do you ask?
I ask everybody.
Oh, okay.
Because like a lot of people, I mean, I know you. I've known you for years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of people I have on here, I know them kind of. Maybe I don't know them at all.
Yeah.
So it gives me a little bit of like okay, oh, you're an Aries, huh?
Yeah, what are you getting?
The first thing I thought of, which I don't know, I don't know if I can talk about here. We can cut it if I can't talk about it. But that fucking night where you,
I know
what I'm talking about. Yeah. Without going into details here, Chelsea crashed up someone's truck, and then when they were pissed at her for doing it, she called them a bitch for that.
And then I would pay for the repairs, like to stop crying about it.
Yeah, she's like, stop crying. I'm going to pay for it. Why are you being a bitch about it?
Yeah.
This is the funniest shit. Yeah, I think about that all the time still. That's great. So as far as Aries are concerned, I feel like Aries are people, I brought this up on another podcast with another Aries. His name was Jeremy. I feel like Aries are people that are on a journey somewhat. Like they always are journeying. They always are searching. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I feel like I've lived 1,000 lives.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I've had so many different side quests, I would say. Yeah. But I definitely think that everything that I've done has been intentional and has gotten me to where I am now, But yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Okay. I love that. Who are your, we went into night mode here. Who are your top 3 MCs? They're going to be people I don't know. I've never heard of. I'm sure of it.
Wait, why are you putting me on the spot? You know, I'm gonna be honest with you.
This is all just to get a picture of your character. It does not have to be like, oh, she's wrong about the, you know, like this is just like personal preference.
Yeah.
No, tell me.
This is a hard question because ironically, I don't have an aux cord in my car, so I haven't been listening to a lot of new music.
So it could be whoever you're listening to.
I'm listening to a lot of like electronic music.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's hard to say.
Okay.
But if we're going Kendrick and Drake.
Oh, do we have to find?
I'm gonna go Drake.
Really?
I'm gonna go Drake.
Yay! One. Yay. We got one.
Don't hate me.
Yay! We got one.
But yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. I fucking feel you.
Yeah.
You know, like listen.
I've seen them both in concert. Both great. But we're talking classics. We're talking some like crazy bars. We're talking relatability. I'm going Drake.
All right. Here's the thing about all that. People who are chiming in on this shit and are like, oh, Kendrick, you know, it's like, you don't listen to Kendrick. I know you don't. You don't listen to Kendrick when you're getting ready to go out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
When you're at a party.
You're listening to Mad City.
You're not listening to Kendrick. You just don't. This is all very hairy. These are the conversations you and I used to have. These are the kind of conversations that used to that will get us in trouble. That get people like fucking throwing tomatoes at us.
Boo.
But it's like, yo, I don't care. Like listen, you see these takes. It's just easy. It's just easy to get on the bandwagon. Like it's like, you know, whatever side seems like the side that has more people on it, people just jump on there.
Yeah.
And that's the internet. You know?
Yeah.
But anytime you have a conversation with someone in person about this kind of stuff,
they're
far more reasonable. And it's any topic. Could be a beef between two rappers. Could be some altercation between two people.
Yeah.
Online, you'll see people just straight up condemning people and just throwing them under the bus or just writing them off. And then in person, you know, real conversations are had. And I'll tell you what, when I go to parties, when I go to live events, guess whose music is playing?
Drake.
Yeah, and nobody's going, oh, shut that shit off.
Boo.
Yeah, no one's booing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're probably playing Not Like Us right now because it's a hit.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, that's the song of the summer.
Yeah.
There's no taking that away from Kendrick. Yeah. It's a song of the summer.
It's a great song. But, I mean, that's got to be one of his best songs.
You are head of social for Cirque. What's the company?
Yeah, so... Yeah, no, not really.
What is this? What's the company?
So Cirque du Soleil owns Blue Man Group.
But you work directly for Blue Man Group.
Now I work directly for Blue Man
Group.
When I was hired as a social media for the brand and globalization of Cirque du Soleil.
Right. Okay, that's where I got confused because I remember that.
Yeah. So that's when I was hired. I worked for our headquarters that are in Montreal. And it was really just a group of three of us that really, after the pandemic, brought all the shows back online.
Yeah.
There's national touring shows all over the world, not just Vegas, which is something that I didn't know prior to working for the company. And so I started there, and then also at that time there wasn't anybody specifically for Blue Man, so I was also working on that brand as well. Okay.
So that's a big deal, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But my question for you is social media destroying us all?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it's funny because I think about this in my perspective, like, is social media destroying me?
We'll get to that.
So,
we'll get to that.
And my answer is this long term for me? Do I feel like this is going to be, will I age out of this? Like, I think about that because there's like the new generations come up with these new things, and my younger sister keeps me like hip to all the new stuff. And she tells me, she's like, oh, you're like way cooler than all the like 30-year-olds I know. I'm not 30 yet, but I'm like right up there.
Let's not jump ahead. Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, like everyone's so cringe, and like you actually know all the stuff like people are talking about. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like chronically online to be able to like keep up with that stuff. But I think having the job that I have and being able to keep sane is just turning it off and like being present. And when I have downtime, like I genuinely enjoy like scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever. Like it's like a hobby of mine. I don't really see it like, oh, I have to do this, you know? But I think if you consume it responsibly, I think it's fine. Like I don't think it's like rotting my brain. But sometimes, but I've had to learn that. Like I've had to learn to prioritize or like stop what I'm doing, like put it down and do what I need to do, you know, or like when work's over, like try to shut that part off. It's hard though. It's really hard. And I can see, but the thing is like, I it's hard because I don't know how to consume social media now just for fun, if that makes sense. Like I'm always thinking about
it's always
what
research.
Trend, like what trend can I do for my job, or like, you know, it's just, I mean, you can have fun with it, but you can also, it's hard to like balance it, I guess.
Yeah, I would say, like, I think about this all the time too. And I don't think it's destroying us.
No.
I think it's affecting us in a much deeper way than we respect or realize. Like the impact of maybe going through a messy breakup and putting all the details on Facebook, or you know, or airing out a personal dispute with a friend on an Instagram story.
Yeah.
Like that, et cetera. And I mean, the list goes on and the possibilities go on. Like the power of that, the power of your life existing in snapshots and videos, and like there being a whole trail left behind you. You know, all of those things are things that are very powerful that we don't respect yet. We don't have because we don't really know the full extent of what how it's affecting us.
Yeah.
So that I think is there. But I don't think it has to ruin us. I think that we'll overcorrect, and then eventually, like maybe we'll have to hit some balance because it's not going anywhere. You know.
Yeah, I've definitely seen relationships broken up over a repost or something on Facebook, you know, like, and so I was thinking about this very differently, but yes, absolutely. Like, I think that there's also so much negativity and so much toxicity that you can consume. And
yeah.
And it's actually really crazy to me because I've noticed being around different people, I've noticed even people's algorithms are very different, could be very toxic, and mine not so much. To give an example, somebody that I know, you know, let's say they're like not doing the best or whatever, like their whole feed is like just like talking about kidnappings and like why you should be careful when you're at the grocery store, or like all these things, you know, like so much negativity, like, oh, this happened and you have to be careful. Just like their algorithm is just full of that kind of stuff, which is out there in you know, on social media. But like I don't ever get videos like that of like, oh, being mindful when you're at the grocery store because you might get kidnapped, or like, oh, I went on a vacation and all these negative things happened to me. It's really crazy to see like just how what you watch also is reflected to you on your algorithm. And I think that can be very, and I'm sure on Facebook, if you're always like retweeting quotes or something, you're going to get more quotes of like whatever, you know?
Yeah, the algorithm thing is a whole other thing, huh? It's so interesting. Like I can find, you know, like sometimes you're it's your bubble. It's like your safety bubble, you know, like my algorithm on YouTube is like all super nerdy video game stuff that I like fall asleep to. Yeah. So it's like I'll put something on YouTube and it'll knock me right out. And and YouTube just feeds me a bunch of that stuff. So it's like I know every night I got something, you know? So it's like don't mess that up. You know, I need that.
Yeah, then you go like watch a video about like Cancun or something, and all your videos are about Cancun.
Yeah. But it's also like, it is the like, it's interesting and cool, but it's also like sick, you know, because you can get trapped in a loop. Not everybody has I'm not saying I do. I'm saying in general, not everybody has the like strength to be like, all right, I gotta stop watching this. You know, you can just get lost in it. Yeah. You know, and this is what was happening to our at least my parents, my generation of adults, with the news networks. You know, it started with like, you know, the Fox and MSNBC news stuff, right? Like if you swing one way, you're like on this network watching it all the time, no matter what, and then you start becoming like what you're watching and repeating what you're watching, and then vice versa for the other side. Right. So it's like that was like the early thing, and then like that has turned into like this micro specific thing now for social media and the internet. Yeah, so it's super wild. Anyway, so we kind of touched on that. I'm curious to see what your like deeper thoughts about it are. Does social media contaminate relationships? It doesn't have to necessarily be romantic relationships. Could be relationships with family, but I mean, you know, it's all similar in that, you know, like in like the effects that it may or may not have, you know.
There's different social media users out there. I've noticed that there's people who are there for fun. There's people who want to like drop hints, or like create a persona that they're not. I've seen it all. I mean, I'm sure we all think of somebody when I say that, like somebody who creates this persona online that you know them in person and they're not actually that person that they say they are on social media. And I think, that plagues, you know, that plagues people's mindset of you, whether it be your friendships, your family. I'm sure thinking like, wow, this person has their life all figured out. And then they know them and it's like, that's not really what it's like, you know, or, you know, you have so much to say to a person, but you're just like dropping hints or quotes or like, you know, on Facebook, like reposting something, you know. I think that you can talk to people in so many different ways without actually talking to them, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's you know, like I suppose this is what we do in general. Like, I suppose it's the appeal of social media is the stimulation of feeling connected without really connecting.
Right. Know? Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, it certainly opens the door to like passive aggressivity and, you know, outright miscommunication, outright misunderstanding. Yeah. You know, the output of someone's social or whatever they're talking about or doing. Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, it's funny, like, this is true. Every relationship that I've actually like cared about, I have wanted to do nothing more than totally avoid them on social media, because I start feeling like I'm getting input I don't need. Like who's liking their photos, who's commenting on their photos, what are they saying? What you know, who's following them and unfollowing, like all the information you can glean from social media is information I don't want. Because then now as human beings, what do? I mean, we're naturally seekers of pattern, right? So if you're someone like me who is a human being who is going to seek pattern, but also tends to be a bit of a paranoid person, now you're putting together a narrative. Like this pattern means this behavior means this. And now you have all this stuff. Now you have all this bullshit in your head that you've engineered on your own,
Right.
And it's like, what? And so I am like, I don't want any of that going on in my mind. I want to avoid this person. I want to ignore their socials. Like, I'll mute, like if I'm dating someone seriously and we are following each other on social, I'll mute them everywhere. So I don't see them at all. They don't know.
I think that's very unique to you.
Yeah, that is for me, but that's because I know how to serve my own, like, what my brain is going to go do. You know what I mean?
Is that toxic of you though?
Absolutely.
To care so much about who's liking their photos, who's commenting, all that stuff. Like,
so here's the thing. It's not first of all, yes, but
I think it says more about your relationship with the person, because if you had trust in the relationship, then there's nothing you should worry about.
Well, that is all right. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're coming there with me here. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't start out by going, who's liking their shit.
Right.
It's like but you start to see it and notice it, and without seeking it, and then you like, again, like, we're human beings. We seek patterns. So we're like, well, this person's popping up a lot, and it's like starts with nothing. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you start to have this intrusive thought or that intrusive thought. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean you don't trust your partner. Mm-hmm. That's my point. In fact, is that I want to trust my partner. I want to continue to trust my partner. And I don't want intrusive thoughts that aren't necessary to even contaminate. That's why I use the word contaminate. Yeah. I don't want any intrusive thoughts contaminating that I don't need. Because life is difficult as it is. Relationships are difficult enough as they are.
Yeah, it's just added noise at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it, and I try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, and I definitely see that. I mean, fortunately, I haven't really had like a toxic relationship with my significant other where I'm like worried about everything that they're doing on social media. But I've heard so many people like worrying about like, oh, he liked her photo or whatever the case is, and just it's a place where anything can happen. Yeah. And can be hidden and can be, you have like vanish mode and all that, and there's like so many things that you can do to like hide stuff, but like there's and I think with somebody who's cognizant of that is always going to think like, what could they be hiding? You know, what is it that, I'm not seeing, or whatever the case is, and like I said, I've seen it. I've definitely seen it. I know that it breaks relationships up, but I mean, there's definitely, when it does get to that point, there's definitely some also things happening outside of social media that gets brought into it. Yeah. Or also social media is an opportunity to create an argument that happens outside of the platform,
Yes, that is another big one. It's like, if I find myself arguing about Instagram, I'm like, I don't need to be having this argument.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
And so anyway, so that, so we spent a little time bashing social media a little bit, but I should say that I love social media. I'm very active. Yeah. And I love to see my friends and my, and people I work with, like, crushing it on social media. I love to see that. It's fun. I love when people are providing something valuable that I can learn from, or something funny, or, like, I love when I see people doing social, like, quote unquote, right. Yeah. So this is kind of like an abstract question for you. What is fun and what is like too much when it comes to like a social post, like for maybe in the context of what you do for Blue Man? Mm-hmm.
What's fun and what's too much?
Like, what is where's the line between fun and like doing too much, like doing, because that's a very thin line. You could easily think you're doing something that's cool and funny, and then watch it like a day later and be like, oh shit, no, this is like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely always the thought of, and I've recorded things where I look back after I've recorded it, and I'm like, Yeah, I'm not posting that.
Okay, so so where's
Where does
that
that
world?
happen?
Yeah, where's that like what's that realm, you know?
Well, for me, specifically for the brand that I work for, I mean, you have to keep the integrity of the character at all times. And there's guidelines that we go about to make sure that the character doesn't look like a clown or doesn't look like a mime or like won't be perceived as something that it's not. So yeah, there's times where the character looks too human, and that's something that we wouldn't want to showcase, so then I wouldn't film it, or I wouldn't post it. Or when you're following a trend a little too closely, what I always do is I get a trend. The way that I like go about doing trendy stuff that's just still works for the brand is I find a trend and I'm like, how would a blue man do this trend? And what they're always doing is challenging what humans do, or like observing how humans are doing things, and then they perceive it as their own way and do things as their own. Like music, for example, they are somewhat unfamiliar with human music, so they go and they get everyday things like pipes and all these things to create music.
Yeah.
And that's, so I take that idea and I try to twist all of the trends. We don't typically do a trend exactly how it is. So it's very unique for like the type of social media that I do is very unique to my brand.
Yeah.
But for any other person, I mean, I don't know. I have to like take my brain out and like put it over here.
Yeah.
Because I'm so in my brain of what I do. So it's even hard for me to think about social media. Like if I wanted to start posting on my page, I'm like, how would I have to like take my brain out and cleanse it, because I'm like in this whole different weird place.
Just the mindset that you shared right there is good advice for people looking to get into social media, like management for a particular brand. Is you don't just do the trend. You think, how would the Blue Man Group do this trend? You know, that there's a difference there. It may not be a big difference depending on what the trend is, but there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset you have to be in. You know, like you have to be able to, like, do you have that like sort of empathic intelligence to be able to put yourself in the shoes of not just, in this sense, it maybe is a little easier because these are characters, but maybe like, but like a company, like I don't know, like Tyson Foods or something that's like totally devoid of character.
Right.
Like how do you personify that and then say to yourself, this is how this brand or the character that personifies this brand, would do this trend. And that's abstract thought. It's like advanced. That's like an advanced way of thinking,
Yeah. And I feel like there's also, and I think this goes back to your question, is like, do we participate in every trend? We don't.
Right.
And I think that's when it gets too much, when you're like trend after trend after trend. Like you have to also find what's niche to you and what your audience wants from you as well. And that's, for us, is like, trends are always fun and it's interesting to see how a blue man would do a trend, because it's what everyone's doing, but they expect, not, I don't know if it's an expectation, but we'll do it differently. So it's like, what are they going to do? How are they going to do it? Right. But our bread and butter is like music video, like music content. And we do like snippets of the show to ultimately we want people to come see the show.
Right. Of course.
So we sprinkle that in, and there's a whole strategy for that, but we've also gone to the point where like, okay, we're not going to do every trend. If it's a big enough trend and I feel like it's a strong enough concept where the blue men can make it their own, then we try it. And then again, there's times where I film it doesn't fit. Or a huge thing that I do too is I use a trending audio, but the video has nothing to do with the trend, and I think that's still it works.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Don't be overly trendy.
No. And I do like the idea, and it makes total sense. Like it's like you saying it. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, like the Blue Men wouldn't do every trend. Like it would be silly, and there should be some discretion on like, hey, does this trend match? Is this trend a fit? You know, fit is a big deal with social media. Fit is a huge deal, and if you miss fit, like. And it's going over your head, your audience is not going to quite know what's wrong, but they'll know something's wrong. You know, it's one of those things. Like
they just lose interest, I think, as well. Yeah. It's like, what am I even here for?
Yeah. Authenticity. I think it probably just stems back to authenticity, which is like a really delicate thing. And which is like the cornerstone of all successful social media is that that it is authentic. If it's not, you know, people will notice immediately. And, you know, you need to be either really great at faking that, or you need to just like do it, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. And you also have to listen to your audience, whether that be like through analytics, you see what's actually performing well. You're listening to what they're responding to.
Yeah.
And you continue to do that. So.
What's a good example of social media being used for a good cause in your realm or wheelhouse or world?
I mean, I think that social media, when it's just lighthearted and it is what it is, I think that's what people seek. A lot of the times you go to social media for just comedic relief, or you just got off work and you want to unwind. It doesn't have to be too complicated. I think that serves a good purpose as well. I think there's a place for that.
I agree.
Yeah.
For sure. But anything you can think of, like, I don't know, something that maybe served a charitable cause, or something that made an impact that you, maybe for you and maybe for you personally in your life, like is there anything you can think of that stood out that you were like, wow, that really like impacted me in a positive way? Or
trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of local people that are doing great things on social media. In my previous job, I used to work at an agency, and I worked with a lot of like foodie influencers. And that's great. Like they're getting their bag, they're doing their own thing, but there's certain people out here that are using that platform that they've created off of this food scene to actually give back to teachers and to veterans. And I think that speaks volumes for what you're able to achieve off of posting videos on your phone of the places you go out to eat. So I've seen that, locally.
Anybody you could think of to shout out? Or?
Yeah, there's a guy. His handle is Brandon from Vegas.
Oh, I know Brandon from Vegas.
I'm sure a lot of people know him, but it's just the first person that comes to mind because he posts every day, and it's a lot of the times it's charitable, and I think that's very respectable because I'm familiar with so many other local influencers, and I don't think any of them are doing that. So to be able to use your platform that you created because of the local people and the support you've gotten, and to be able to turn that around and give back, I think that's really nice.
I agree. Yeah, Brandon from Vegas, good dude.
I don't know him personally. He could be like a horrible person, but I hope he's not.
I don't know him in his personal life. I've met him a couple times. He seems like a lovely guy.
Yeah, and that's just off the top of my head because I follow him. I see his posts, and I've seen the good he's done. So I think that's really cool.
How long do you have someone's attention, really?
Oh, 3 seconds.
Is it necessary to make videos that are longer than 3 seconds? Should they all just be 3 seconds of like madness?
No, it's so funny because there's actually a sound on Instagram right now. And it's 1 second and it's just the eyes blinking. Have you ever seen those? Yeah. So every time I see one of those, I go to that person's page and I look at their view count on that video. Like there was a girl, her average views is like 25,000, 10,000 on that video is 9.7 million views.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I've been seeing this trend and I was like, I need to do this. Cause like, first of all, people are just rewatching it because you also put a paragraph of whatever and people are needing to read the whole
and it's
thing.
only a second long. So
so it just restarts and it restarts your view count. It's genius.
Yeah.
And it's going to boost your retention rate and it's going to serve most of your videos to more people. So it should boost all the videos around it. It's a really good idea. But yeah, for rule of thumb for a video to do really well is something really interesting in the first 3 seconds.
Yeah, the hook.
A hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see this in like a great example of this, like Mr. Beast. Like he was like, I would say one of the like pioneers of like, we're about to blow this house up. And like, you're like, what the hell? How are they going to do that?
Yeah.
You know? And then you watch the whole like 25-minute video on YouTube. But now you're seeing it micro, like cut down into like much smaller. And yeah, I've noticed a huge difference in focusing in that. It just in some of the videos we'll get recuts of like music videos that we have long form videos on YouTube. If the first 3 seconds aren't of an actual Blue Man, it's not going to perform very well. But if I cut if it's like a band member playing, no offense to them at all, but if we just cut that part slightly to just have the face of a Blue Man first, it will perform exponentially better. And that's just because that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that we cut the rest of the part out. It's just later on in the video. You just really want the hook to be just the meat of whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
And you know, one of my biggest pet peeves is like when there's a video and it's like, and I used to do this and everyone does this, but it's like, hey guys, how's it going? It's Chelsea, you know, and I'm back at it with another video. I used to do that, you know, but
I still
you already lost me, or you already lost a person that doesn't care who you are. They just want to know what you have to say.
Yes. Yeah.
So, so if you start off with what you have to say, it's gonna do much better.
Yeah.
Or like today, I'm gonna talk to you about 6 reasons why you should watch this video, instead of saying like the first thing of why you should watch the video.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, totally agree. It's very funny how that has unfolded too. It's just like it's gone from like, you know, it's gone from things are done like entire productions, like entire shows.
Yeah.
Some YouTube channels are still that way.
Oh yeah.
And if they have their audience, then it still works for them. But yeah, then it's like quick introduction and go. Then it's like no introduction and go. Then it's just like go. Then it's like don't even go. Play the middle thing. Like get right to the middle.
Yeah.
You know. And then it's like get right to the end and just have the end. And now we're at like the video's 1 second long.
Yeah. Just
and read the thing. Like there's not even it's 1 second long of something happening and read the paragraph. It's so cool. It's so interesting. And it does like swing and go full circle and go ass backwards and come right back. Like,
oh yeah.
Now to my, you know, it may have already changed by this point, but now what's popular on YouTube is like really long form, like unedited shit, like 3 hours long of just, I don't know, whatever, you know, like
even on TikTok. Yeah. Like there's 10-minute videos now. And I will sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I will fast forward the video, but I will watch it because first of all, if I have like a connection to this person, like if I'm like, well, let's just give an example. It's like Love Island. I'm like connected to the people that I watched on Love Island. I've watched 40 episodes and now they're on TikTok. It's so
Is
cool.
Love Island the one where they can't see each other?
No, that's Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
Yeah. But Love Island, like this last season was insane and there's so much drama. And now they're out of the show and they're posting like 10-minute long TikToks. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch that. I want to see who they're with, who they're hanging out with, and like all the things that they're doing.
Because they can still, I suppose it's kind of like they can just continue the like confessionals of like what's going on in their love life.
Yeah, but
that's really smart, actually.
Yeah, and I think that only works for these like influencers or like celebrities that you're so invested in the person, like you want to see what their day looks like.
Yeah, of course.
But for a brand to do a 10-minute video, I don't think it works. The only time I have seen it work, and this was for I forget who it was, like a travel company or like, let's just say like Hilton Hotels or something. They did like a long video, and but it had cameos of a ton of influencers that you see on TikTok. So it was really cool because this video was like just for TikTok. So if you are an avid person on TikTok, you're going to see all these influencers that are so big on the platform. You're going to see it throughout the video, and you're going to watch the whole video, and it did what it needed to do. But I think that's just like a one-off case. Like, I don't know how well like a 10-minute video would do for like, I don't know, like you said, Tyson Food Company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you really just need to get to the point. And it's funny because I saw a video today, and it was said something about parenting and how you want, like when you're parenting a child, like you want to be straightforward and cut to the chase and like don't say too much. And I think that's like it kind of resonates with social media because you really just want to cut to the point and like say what you need to say, because otherwise it's not going to resonate. They're not listening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I almost posted that to my story today because I thought it was so fun. It had nothing to do with social media, but it just, the way my brain went was like, this totally makes sense, because the more you talk and the more you're whatever, people don't care. And that's always, I think that's like a huge thing, is like, I'm always thinking about, why do people care about this when I'm posting it? If I have an answer like, oh, people are going to care about this because this is hilarious, or people are going to care about this because it's informational, or because it's relevant to something that's happening in the world. That's like what you want when you're about to post something, is like think about why you're posting it.
Love that. That's good advice. That's good. So where's the Blue Woman group?
It's really interesting because there is no gender specific, like women can apply and become a Blue Man. There was actually a woman that was hired, I think, from 1998 to 2001.
Oh, so one of the is this like a secret? Can I even say?
Yeah,
can I share this? Me. That one of the Blue Men was a woman.
Was a woman, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I think she was in Chicago when it happened. I think it was either New York or Chicago where we have a show. Yeah, so we there is actually nothing stating like only men can apply. Like they're very open. I think you have to meet like a height requirement and athletic build. And the majority of the performers are actors, and then they learn how to drum. They learn how to, or they could be like drummers with like a little bit of acting, and you know, but overall I think there's like over 60 Blue Men that exist in the world. Yeah.
Has there ever been any, like, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, has there ever been any backlash to the name being Blue Man Group? I mean, people even complain about the X-Men now, you know, so.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Even like around elections, like you would think that maybe blue has a specific, you know, meaning, but no, I don't think there's ever been really any backlash to it.
I mean, it's honestly, Blue Man Group is pretty universally loved, I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, "Oh, that's stupid," or you know, like everybody seems to love it. So that's cool.
Yeah, and it's because the character is a silent character. They're basically the premise of the show is the Blue Men are trying to connect with humans, and the way that they know how to is through music. So music is a universal language, and so the way that this has been so successful is that you can put this show anywhere in the world. We just opened a show in Shanghai, a resident show in China. We have resident touring show in Japan currently, which will tour in like different cities in Japan over the span of a couple weeks or a couple months. We have a resident show in Berlin that I think they just had their like 25th anniversary. And then we have a world tour that's going to UK and Paris later this year. And then we have the show in New York, Chicago, Boston, Las Vegas, and we're going to open one in Orlando too.
Sheesh.
So, man. Yeah.
No slowing down for the Blue Man Group.
Yeah, absolutely not. Wow. It's actually really, really exciting that, you know, like I said, we can put this show anywhere, and there are tweaks to it. Like there's a speaking character that's like kind of just like in the house, like, you know,
like a voice of God
type of thing. And they're in the respective languages in the cities that they're in. Like in Berlin, it's in German, and Shanghai, it's in Chinese. So, yeah, there's tweaks culturally to the show. Like I know in the Berlin show, there's a part called Feast where they're sitting at the table and they're eating something, and I think they eat like a German food that's popular there, you know.
Sauerkraut.
A little brat.
Yeah, some brat.
A little pretzel. Yeah, so it's actually really, really interesting and exciting to see how big the company is, and just to see where everything everywhere, you know. Yeah. And the tour is very different from the resident shows. Similar but different, you know. All the shows are going to be different from each other, so yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
Well, I love that for the future of the company and for the future of you within the company. Yeah. Couple more before you go.
Yeah.
Do you have a nightmare scenario that you've gone through in your work in social media, or it doesn't necessarily have to be in the context of Blue Man, where this thing was dropped in your lap and you had to like make it work? It's like worst case scenario that you like came out the other side type thing.
I mean, there's definitely not that much in the company that I work at now. Everyone's like really good at what they do. But I do can think of in previous roles where I was like freelance, or there was also like I was a coordinator at an agency. So agency work is very different because you have multiple clients that you're working with. And it was my task to work with the restaurant locally, and the owner didn't want to hire a content creator, or didn't want us to hire us to create content for them. So we were just managing their account, and the content that we were receiving was from their friend. It's just like my friend is a photographer, and is like horrible photos of the food. And it's like, you do not want to eat there.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that I convinced my boss to take us to like a work lunch there. And I was like, guys, order everything on the menu. Like, don't double up on plates. I was like, I need to take photos. So yeah, I took photos of the food on my phone, and this was the content that I worked with.
Very sneaky.
Because I absolutely could not work with like the content that they were giving me. It was like literally raw files in like a low lit restaurant of like a branzino fish on a plate. Like, it doesn't look pretty. Yeah. And that's what they wanted me to post. And I had to post it because I had nothing else, you know. But I was making like flyers, and I was like try to put a photo and then like a flyer to kind of like break it up, and like Sunday specials. Like, I was trying my best to just really do everything that I could. And then when we were able to have the lunch, like I think I can scroll back on this restaurant's page and like look at like the difference of when I took over the account, and I was like started to take my photos and stuff. And that did last me for like because I think I was posting like 3 times a week or something. But that was a really difficult one.
Yeah, that sounds very typical too of like
so typical of like we don't have the budget for a content creator. A content creator is way more important than a strategy. Like you could literally post a good video at any time and it's going to do well, or a photo. At that time there wasn't any reels, but like I don't know. It's just not, especially for a restaurant, like the food needs to look really good. And I have a bone to pick with restaurants because okay, if I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to go on the Instagram and I'm going to look at the dishes because I want to know what I'm going to order.
Of course.
Put the name of the plate that you're posting, please. Because I'm not going to be like, can I get this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put some information, what's on the plate that you're
Do they
posting.
do that a lot? I haven't seen that.
Restaurants don't put the name of the plate. It's like,
really?
Come on by this Sunday. And it's like a plate of this delicious whatever. But I'm like, okay, but I want to order this. Like they need to be cognizant that people are coming to their page because they're coming to the restaurant. They're going to order.
Yeah.
But they don't. So if you manage a social media page of restaurants, put the name of the plate.
Relating to that, I have a confession to make. I am huge on Google Maps.
Oh yeah, I love Google Maps.
I have 300 million. Not 300. I have 3 million views on my photos on Google Maps.
Oh.
You want to know why?
Why?
Same type of deal. When I go on Google Maps, I want to see where I'm going, you know?
Right.
I think it's the opposite. Like, I don't want to see tight photos of food. I want to see the room.
The vibe, the ambiance.
Yeah.
Right.
And 9 out of 10.
How are people dressed?
Right. How are people dressed? Is this place, like, does this place look like a pizzeria, you know, like with like, you know, like the plastic benches, or am I sitting, you know what I'm saying? Like, can I take someone on a date to this place? Whatever.
Yeah. So I agree with that.
Every place that I'm going to review, and I only leave a review at a place that I'm going to leave a 5-star review. Otherwise I don't review.
That's good.
I take a picture of the space, the room. I take a couple of them with a really wide angle. Yo.
What's your Google?
Blow it up.
What's your Google Maps at?
I think it's just, do you have that? Does that exist?
You have like a username. I'm sure.
I'm pretty now. All right. So now I'm on my business email, which is the email that you would find on my website. But it used to be like my old, like Neo the One, like email or something with like, it's like a pink picture with a goose. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yo, the views. Oh my God. If that shit mattered, I'd be huge. I'd be huge. I'd be.
Well, it matters for the restaurant.
It does matter for the restaurant. And that's what that's why I do it, because it's like, all right.
Okay, this is a new conversation we should start. Should we get paid for leaving reviews?
Yeah. New conversation for sure. 100%.
We're really helping their SEO.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Oh my God. I mean, 3 million views.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Anyway. I got to find a way to monetize that. So,
yeah.
Okay. So we did a nightmare. What would you say is the highlight of your career thus far?
Highlight of my career.
Or a highlight. Doesn't have to be
a highlight of my career. I would say a project that I was really, really proud of this year was Pink Box Donuts. So last year we were at a Desert Dogs game, which I'm sure maybe you've worked on those.
I might have been there when you guys were there.
Really?
I work the Desert Dogs. Yes.
Yeah. So we were at a Desert Dog show, and the Blue Men were doing what we call a disturbance, which we go and disturb the patrons of the game. It's not meant to be like negative, but it's just like we're disturbing like what the normal ambiance is, right? So we were there, and the Blue Men do what they do. They found a box of Pink Box donuts, and they opened it. They grabbed a donut and they started eating it. And I'm live capturing everything that they do because it could be a gold piece of content. Yeah. And I have had pieces of content go viral that I've just live captured, was totally unplanned. And I think some of those are the best moments that we've ever had, that we have, is some of those like
emergent,
raw, unfiltered Blue Men in the wild. Those are the best.
Yeah.
Always my favorite. So I was filming, and then they also see the camera in front of them. So I think they also like
turn it on a little bit.
They go the extra mile. So all three of them are sharing the donut. They all take a bite of the donut, and like I posted that video, and I also added, I overlaid a sound of an apple bite. So it was really crunchy. And I don't know if like just sonically people were like, what the hell is this? Yeah. But it was just like an extra little thing I added to the video, and it did really, really well. And I tagged them in the video, Pink Box. And this was last year. So then they like reposted the video and like DM'd us and like let's do a collaboration. I'm like, yeah, that'd be so cool. And this is something that we do in other cities, is like they do a lot of like local collaborations to, you know, promote the show or whatever. So that video turned into a bigger conversation, and then this year it turned into like a whole marketing campaign where we like took over their whole store for the month of April. And when we got on a call with the owner, he was like, or he wasn't the owner, but the marketing manager. He was like, yeah, like, what if we did like something like, you know, like April Fools or something like that? And I was like, yes. I was like, that's like the perfect thing. So Pink Box, it's pink in the name and there's blue in the name. So it's like Blue Man come in and turn the store
to Blue Box.
To Blue Box, you know, like they take over the store and make it their own. So
I love that.
Then we came up with the concept of a prank, April Fools, like you play a prank. So the next process, the next part of the concept was that the Blue Men were going to come into the store and vandalize the store. Yeah. And say like, you know, and it was, the way we filmed it was like a security CCTV camera is just like left on overnight, and it just captures them in the store,
like a time lapse type deal.
It was just causing havoc. It wasn't a time lapse, but it was, like it's just like the camera was on and they're going in and they're creating their own donuts. They had flying paper all inside the store. They made a mess with sprinkles, like there was paint, everything. And then the result of that was they created 2 donuts that were Blue Man themed donuts. So we did that. We filmed it overnight. So that was my first time ever doing an overnight shoot, which we filmed from like, I don't remember, like 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. And I think we were there till like 5 or 6 a.m.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we had to do it. Yeah, we had to do it overnight to not interrupt their service.
The service, yeah.
So yeah, that, and then, you know, that resulted in like, so after that, you know, we dropped it on April Fool's Day, and it was like, oh, we've been pranked. The Blue Man Group came in, and then that was the launch of the whole promotion for the whole month. We even changed a part of the show where they put Pink Box donuts into the show as like a product placement type of thing. So it was a whole thing. It was huge. And what was really great was that we were in all of the stores, and they have stores in Prim. They have stores, I think they might have a store like in St. George.
There's a lot of Pink Boxes. There's like 5 of them or something, right?
There's a lot. Nevada. Yeah, there's even more. Yeah, I think there's more than that. But, you know, another great thing for us was that there's like feeder markets. So like where people are traveling in from California, they might stop at the Pink Box Donuts at Prim. And that's their first interaction with Blue Man, is when they see that we had the video playing, the video that we filmed of them inside the store. They had that playing on their screens. They had the donuts and all this stuff, and yeah, it turned out to be a really successful collaboration, which stemmed from a video that I filmed that didn't think anything of it at the time, but you know, all turned out to be
with that apple crunch sound effect. Yeah, it was the apple crunch.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was a really, really cool thing, and I think that was also one of the first times that I wouldn't say that I produced the video, but I was like really, really hands-on with like the concept.
Yeah,
and
there. You're there. You're filming it. You're you know.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. we have a studio, like Cirque du Soleil studio that films on like good camera, like big, nice cameras. Yeah. I'm strictly on my iPhone.
Right.
But yeah, we had like a full production for this, and yeah, like I was more so involved with most of that. So that was really cool, and to see it all come together at the end, and how everyone was super happy with like a local collaboration. They gave us, oh my God, I had so many donuts that month. It was insane. And we had donuts come to our office and to our crew, and everyone was really happy. So that was really cool.
I love that. Wow, how fun.
Yeah,
what a cool thing, like so serendipitous, just came out of, you just so happened to make this cool video, this fun video that did really well, and then that sparked all this interest in the collaboration with Pinkbox, and that's great, and it says a lot about them too. I've worked with Pinkbox. I helped them open their Tropicana and Fort Apache location, and very lovely people. These are Nevada, like, Nevada business, like, people that have been around forever.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they were willing to do that. And yeah, that's great. And I love that you were in the driver's seat of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a really cool one.
All right. I got one more thing for you.
Okay.
So for young people coming up who would like to someday become the social media manager for a big global brand like Blue Man Group, what do you say to them?
I would say have fun, experiment, and I would assume that they're already on social media at some capacity, posting or involved in something, or if they're not and they just have the aspirations to just get involved somehow, and start with helping a friend out. Like, if you have a friend that has a business, be like, hey, can I come over and like shoot some videos for you on your phone, and just do that, and just really try to, I think that one of like the main things is to try to understand a brand, and like, I think we talked about this sort of at the beginning, like become the brand. And even, like I said, even if it's just your friend does like eyelashes or something, like ask her the questions, like, why do you do this? Or like, talk to the people around you, and then try to understand everything that like they have going on, if that makes sense. Like, why did they start this? Yes, I would say surround yourself also with like just like-minded people. And yeah, bring your phone everywhere, film everything. If you travel, record your travels. Like, I do that as fun, just on the side for me, and I've always loved to do that. But I would start there, because I've done, like, my sister had like a little like lip gloss thing that she had, and we filmed like a holiday campaign, and we did like a Christmas like Santa hand, and like pulled the little lip gloss out of a stocking, and like that's like a commercial. If that was like for a real brand, like just imagine that was for like Rhode, like one of the, a really big brand of lip glosses right now. Like, just imagine that you're working for a big company, and try to do things that they would do, even if it's just for your friends. You know what I mean? And I feel like I did that somewhat at the beginning, is that I was doing stuff for my friends, and then one thing turned into another. I knew I had a passion for it, and I pushed myself. I started as an intern for an agency, and then they hired me full time, and I worked with clients from different types of like restaurants. I worked for apartment complexes, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that interesting. So maybe also, if you don't have friends, like think of a product that you like, or maybe find a company online that you feel like is not impactful, and think about how you would change the narrative for them online.
I love that. That's great advice. Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
you. Could please share your socials, or if there's any projects that you're working on, or anything that you'd like people to check out.
Unfortunately, I don't have any personal projects that I have going on, but yeah, you can follow me at _where's Chelsea.
Okay. Yay, we did it. Yay, finally. That's a good one. That's a really, really good one.
Really?
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Some nuggets.
Some nuggets, yeah. Oh, we need some nuggets. That's all. That's all we need is a couple nuggets.
That's funny.